Hello and welcome. You're watching Books with Alison, and I'm Alison. So I have a goal to read a number of books a month. Right now it's about 4 to 6, somewhere in there. And I was inspired to just share my ideas and review of books. And on this journey, I also decided that I wanted to try and read a number of different books. Usually I'm reading professional development, health and science, and I just wanted to reach out and see what else I could read. So I started with The Happiness Project, which is really the first book that inspired me to do this because I thought I would love this book. Everyone I talked to thought they would love this book, and I just felt a little bit different. So I felt like this is a book for the kind of person who gets super happy by being unhappy, but you think you want to be more happy by not being unhappy, but that makes you unhappy, so you don't know how to be happy, and everything's very confusing, right? So if you like to read a biography type book on an unhappy woman who can't stop criticizing herself, her husband, her kids, everyone else around her, and think that you can find a shortcut to happiness, then this book might be for you. You might actually love it. So my top three takeaways or themes from the Happiness Project would be, um, I thought it was the opposite of life changing. If you've never read a personal development book or a book on happiness or anything like this, you might actually find it really inspirational. If you've read a ton of books like me, you might not find it completely inspirational. So I think it just depends on where you are on what you like to read. I thought it was incredibly judgmental and critical. And I also thought, you can't hack your way to happiness. And I think everybody's trying to do that, find these shortcuts, and it's just not working, right? So this is Gretchen Rubin's one-year experiment of piling a bunch of resolutions onto her life, creating a ton of to-do lists, classes, increasing her worries so she can make herself happier. And she asks the question, is it possible to be happier? And what is happiness? And I thought that was a great foundation to the book and something that you should take away in your own life as well. But I think her real question in reading her to-do list, all the things that she created, was how can I shortcut my happiness? And is there a pill or a class I can take or something I could just read and do and then it'll be done? Whereas happiness can either be something you check off on a to-do list or it can be something that you integrate deeply into your life. So I actually hosted a book club on this book in my functional medicine community. I had the content ready to go, but I can relate on a few levels because I'm almost a middle-aged woman. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I'm in the phase of my life where I know who I am. I'm looking for more fulfillment in my work, in my relationships. I enjoyed that concept. Is this all that life has to offer? What else is there? How can I more deeply experience my life? And it made me think of the Nine Inch Nails songs, like every day is exactly the same. And when we get stuck on that, I think we do start grasping for happiness. So I enjoyed her growth. I did. And her search for happiness. And you definitely have to read between the lines of this. And so every month she had a category that she worked on. So one of my notes on this book is, why are we as Americans so obsessed with happiness and happiness and a version of perfection? Her happiness definitely seems to be tied to perfection, which is seen in every page. She's criticizing herself or somebody else. She's snapping at her kids. She's admitting that she's snapping because things aren't exactly right. But the happiness that we seek, right, is mostly fleeting, right? Which is why we have such issues with addictions to drugs and alcohol and prescription drugs and sex and all of these things, because it's just a moment by moment. It is fleeting. And I think, in my opinion, we have learned that we have to be chasing happiness, this pursuit of happiness. Whereas instead, I think being in a neutral state, emotional state, is actually more important than chasing happiness, because we can feel fulfilled and neutral, but we're not going to experience a 24/7 high of happiness like these books are searching for. But that's just my thought. So I enjoyed the part I did enjoy about this book is her research. She did a lot of research studies and brought them into the book, how she wove it in. And my favorite part was one of her rules was just to be Gretchen, be herself. And I thought it was a great reminder that we're not all the same. We're all going to enjoy different things, and we can do the things we love instead of judging ourselves and others for them. Like before I came up to do this video, I was like, hey, I told my husband I need to go do my reviews of the books I read for February and then do the videos. And then I need to go read more books today. And then I need to go buy more books today. And he's like, okay. And I was like, thank you for not judging me for wanting to do this really weird, random, off the cuff thing that's really just for me and my happiness. But I wanted to share a couple things about taking away from what I read in each month, because I did really get triggered and I felt more resentful the more I read this book. And I would say trust the 1-star Amazon reviews of this book if you're going to read it. So in January, she talked about her basic health tips, but then she starts talking about drinking Diet Coke for breakfast all the time, adding artificial sweeteners to salads, and eating brown sugar straight from the bag. So I thought, when we take health advice from people, maybe we need to be a little bit more choosier in who we're trusting. But that's a whole different thing, because that's my life is functional medicine. February actually really upset me because it was all about love and her marriage. And I don't know this person. I don't know her. I don't know her husband. I'm not best friends with her. I can't say anything except for from what I read. And I just thought her portrayal of her husband, he came off as a major jerk, and my heart kind of broke for her a little bit. And she keeps talking about how her need for gold stars and approval is like the most important thing in her life, and her husband refuses to do that for her, and how her happiness would be better if she didn't have to burden her husband with her feelings and her work life and her business decisions. And oh my God, it made me so grateful for my husband, who's so supportive of me and my businesses and my details, and I couldn't have made it through without his support and his attention. So like, there's so much to unpack there as I'm reading it. And her happiness is so clearly in control and recognition, which is fine because we all get our happiness from somewhere. And I think if she read the love languages, her whole life would be different. And if she read, her husband read that, it would probably help out a lot. And in reading that, it made it even more obvious to me that the work that my husband and I do on improving our personal lives, our marriage, our communication, every aspect of our relationship is so important. And just to sit back and go, oh, I hope this works out, and then you're constantly fighting. I think that everybody who reads this should really want to do relationship building with their spouse. Okay, well that's that. March was about being true to herself, and I was really proud of her for that. So I thought that was a great chapter. And then April was like all about how she gets off on being unhappy, and her goal was to take a light tone, even when chastising. And so it made me feel like I don't even want to be anywhere near this woman. And this is a book about somebody who's trying to be happier. Her version of happiness, I feel like, is what most moms' version of happiness is right now. Like, how stressed out can I be? How perfect can my house be and my life look like? How can I make the most beautiful, extravagant birthday parties and keepsakes and save everything from the kids? And just felt suffocating to read. Because it's just like, you just want to shake her and be like, could you just spend some time with your kids instead of like creating more crap to worry about? But and then May was the same. It was supposed to be all about fun. It didn't seem like it. June, I think, was the best part, is that one of the best ways to make yourself happy is to make other people happy. And one of the best ways to make other people happy is to make yourself happy. And I thought this was a great takeaway from this book, but it's still about a woman who loves to complain and then tries to convince herself not to, and then repeatedly fails. And it's like, okay. In August, she wrote a gratitude journal and then said it didn't work. So her gratitude journal didn't make her happy after a week. and they're not supposed to. So I thought that was ironic. Like, it just exemplified the whole book, looking for external ways to make yourself happy through lists and things, and just trying to be different and put more pressure on yourself to be more perfect and do more and be more. And then of course it's not going to work, because oh my gosh, there's just one more thing that you have to do. And then she did describe one of the major issues that I notice in my life, where being unhappy is perceived as having a lack of values, and being down is being perceived as being interesting. So being happy is associated with being privileged and uninteresting. And so reading this really showed me why I struggle with like friends or relationships when everybody else is so negative, that I become that way to fit in, because being happy is so rare, which is just so interesting. And then by October, her husband was still mocking her for doing this and making this book and trying to make new efforts. Her friends were mocking her and just trying more shortcuts. And then I just stopped taking notes, because it was more of the same, more complaining. Overall, I would rate this book 4 out of 10. I would read this if you've never picked up a self-help book. You might actually really love it. Otherwise, if you want to be happier, put the book down and go pick up something else. I also read 10% Happier after this one, which I'll review next for you guys. So just another take on different things. So if you have a book or something that you would like me to read and review for you, give you tons of information and insight on it, comment, let me know. Make sure that you stay connected for each week's reviews, like and subscribe, and let me know what you're reading and if you love it. And thanks for being here.